Well, it's Thursday, April 17th. We've got so much going on. A strong spring, late winter storm, even though it's spring, is targeting the Rockies with some heavy snow that's going to be falling back here in the order of maybe a couple of feet in some of the mountains. And then we're also watching the fire danger start to increase here across the plains. Severe weather risk going up, not just today, but maybe even for the next couple of days. And also some really heavy rain could be falling and a lot of impacts for many of you over the next several days. So we're going to break it down in today's forecast as we just kind of take a look at what's going on. First, let's start with where we are right now with some of these warnings and advisories. We're going to make this really quick. A lot of red flag warnings here, a lot of wind, high wind warnings too across New Mexico, parts of Colorado, into Kansas, also into Oklahoma and Texas. That fire danger really high, and also back into Arizona. And then we've got the winter storm warnings going up here into the Rockies with some lingering frost advisories and freeze warnings here still going for the east, where it's been a chilly overnight for sure. Back to the models. Well, let's look at where we're looking at today, and where we're looking at, I should say, for the severe weather today across Iowa, Nebraska, into parts of Minnesota, maybe even as far east as Illinois. And even though, we're not bullseye down here into Missouri, there's still a chance of some strong storms. The possibility of this afternoon also for some tornadoes. If we look at the tornado outlook, there we go. Again, eyeing right here, bullseyeing eastern parts of Nebraska into Iowa. There's going to be enough wind shear, that change of wind direction with height, that tornado risk is here. And tomorrow, our risk shifts a little bit further to the south. We're going to have an area of low pressure moving toward the Great Lakes, so we'll see this really be the instigator for some damaging winds, maybe even some hail. I don't think you could rule out a tornado, but it's not a main threat. And then as you move toward your day 3 outlook, that severe risk still going across many of these same areas, and it kind of pushes a little bit to the south. So now we're looking more into Texas, southern Oklahoma, into Arkansas. Let's really widen things out and take a look at what's going on and what we're expecting over the next couple of days. Let's back it up and take it through the rest of today. We've got that cold air dropping into the Rockies, heavy snow into Wyoming, Idaho, Montana. That heavy snow drops into Colorado as we head into tonight, into the early morning hours, also into Utah. Temperatures on the way down. And we're warming up, though, in the east. Temperatures above average here across the deep south. Central Plains states we're warming up. Even into the northeast, temperatures rising. We're held back somewhat here around the Great Lakes, Michigan back into Wisconsin, with the rain showers moving through on Friday. And then there's the cold digging into the southwest with some heavy snow possible into Colorado, as far south as maybe even parts of New Mexico and Arizona, especially into the mountains. Now as we head into Saturday, these storms stretch out. Our rain, you can see, stretching from the northeast all the way down into Texas, and then low pressure develops on Sunday. This could be interesting. This might push some of that severe risk further to the south and maybe a little bit further to the east. Storm Prediction Center kind of watching this region. We didn't look at the extended outlook. Let's do that here live here on the stream. And by the way, if you ever join these streams and it's live and you want to take it back from the beginning, you can always back it up and you can subscribe, come back, watch these videos later anytime. So if you miss the live stream, don't worry about it. You can always check it out. But yes, as we head into Sunday, that risk going up here as that next area of low pressure moves toward the Great Lakes and it drags a cold front through the south. This one could really start to wrap up as we head into Monday. It could create quite a bit of wind and some rain, maybe even some snow on the northern side of this into parts of Minnesota. And then we turn, well, not super cold, but I would say cooler behind this. In fact, it kind of looks active as we head into next week with rain sticking around. Let's look a little bit closer here and time some of these storms out as we move through today. We've got a cluster of storms moving through parts of Missouri. That will weaken as we move through the day today. It really will likely fizzle apart as we move into tonight, but it could bring a few showers as the front lifts north here and east through parts of the Midwest, into parts of Indiana, also into Ohio, eventually into Pennsylvania, into the Northeast. And now we're moving into Friday. So a few storms really start to fire up into the afternoon and evening hours along our front, from Chicago south through central Illinois, back into Missouri, even Kansas and Oklahoma. And some of these could really start to pulse up, and we could see them get strong as a piece of energy moves along our front, heading into late Friday night into early Saturday morning. Temperatures this afternoon, pretty mild. We're talking about 80s in many areas. Warmer here, too, across the east and into the northeast, too, which will be the trend for this part of the country. I'll show you that in just a second. Further to the north, there's that cluster of storms weakening, It's going to bring some rain showers, though, to parts of Wisconsin, northeast, parts of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. Heavier rain up into Wisconsin, though. This pushes east, and there could be a few strong storms on the southern flank of this as we head into the overnight, so rumbles of thunder possible. Maybe some gusty winds moving through Michigan, too, with this bowing line of storms that could form, and then this moves into the Great Lakes region. It continues to push across the lakes, I should say, into southern Ontario, weakening as it heads toward the northeast, and then we set our front up here, so most of your precipitation across southeast Ontario. Also, our next system sliding along our front, it's going to bring more heavy rain from Missouri northeast into Illinois and Indiana over the coming days. Temperatures this afternoon, warmer across parts of Michigan. We're into the 60s. And then we really start to see some of this warm air get squeezed north out ahead of our front. We're talking about now into the 70s and 80s here on Good Friday. Into the northeast. Well, not a lot going on precipitation-wise. I mean, look at this. I'm running the radar through, or the simulated radar through Friday. We finally start to see some showers back to the west here across Ontario. Some of that scraping through the northeast, really skipping, not really putting down much. And then we're going to see a few more showers here heading into Saturday and Sunday. Most of that staying north of the cities. Otherwise, a relatively dryish weekend. Temperatures today, cool. Only in the 30s and 40s into the farther northern parts of New England. Warmer tomorrow, and it gets even warmer as we head into Saturday. Look at the 80s, all the way from the nation's capital. We may get very close to 80 in parts of New Jersey as well. Across the southern plains, a little active here, more active. Also into the Rockies, there's that heavy snow in Colorado dropping south as we head into the overnight. We'll continue to see that pick up. And then those storms across Iowa, again, could pulse up pretty strong heading into tonight, into the very early morning hours of Friday through parts of southern Wisconsin, maybe even northern Illinois, and then maybe cold enough for some snow back across Nebraska. We see that snow chance really start to ramp up here across the Front Range, down into New Mexico. Several inches of snow possible here. It's going to be extremely windy across this part of the country, too, over the next couple of days. And with hot, dry conditions as we head into this afternoon, I mean, look at this. Highs will top out close to 100 across western Oklahoma, North Texas. And now you've got all the winds blowing, too, so you can see a pretty high fire danger across this part of the country. Further to the north, we'll catch some of these severe storms here across Iowa with this type of view. There could also be some decently strong storms across Minnesota. Those will start to sink off to the south and east as we head through the evening hours. Some snow flying back across western South Dakota and North Dakota. Not a lot of snow, but cold enough for snow. And then behind our low as it wraps up, maybe some snow for International Falls into parts of northern Minnesota with temperatures on the way down into these areas as we see colder temperatures drop in from Canada heading into Friday. Further to the south and west, this is where the chilly air is building in. Temperatures today quite a bit cooler than what we've seen over the last week or so across this region. There's the snow wrapping up as we head into Sunday, and here's a look at your temperatures today. Again, heading into the afternoon, we're only talking about 80 across Phoenix, where we've been close to 100 over the last week or so, maybe. You know, especially earlier in the week, it was much warmer, and you can see how that cold air just continues to drop south through the Rockies, down into the Four Corners states. So, yeah, another day in the 70s from Phoenix and even up into Flagstaff. We may be stuck in the 40s, maybe even 30s, depending on your elevation. Across the northern Rockies, we start to see the snow push out. We do dry out. Across the Pacific Northwest, relatively dry. We do see some shower activity start to pick up, though, as we head into Sunday, and some of that may spill into the Intermountain West as we head into Monday. Certainly not a huge storm by any stretch, with temperatures much colder here across the Intermountain West. Not too bad across the Pacific Northwest from Washington and Oregon heading into tomorrow. Maybe even a little bit warmer here. We may get close to 70, especially here in the parts of eastern Oregon and Washington and central Oregon. And then down in the Central Valley, we're into the 70s too. And then there's the cold moving through the central Rockies, not getting above freezing in the mountains. So some pretty chilly air. All right, that's all I got for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a great Thursday.